Pedro, before the break, we talked a little bit about the integration of the workers into the workforce. But one of the things I've noticed, and I'll give you an example with a plant that I'm very familiar with, Cargill, because we have an awful lot of workers that get hurt up there, and many of them have language barriers. When I go to Cargill and look at that plant, and many of the meatpacking locations in northeastern Pennsylvania, you see signs in English all over the place warning about the dangers of some of the cutting equipment, etc. And all of the warnings that are in English don't mean an awful lot to someone who doesn't speak English. But when you go into the office place, all of the warnings that have to be in to protect the employer about taking off your hat and washing your hands and doing all those kind of things, they're all in Spanish. The machines themselves haven't been adapted for the bilingual or for the Spanish worker. And I see it as a major problem in this area. I think there's a much higher incidence of serious work injuries among the Spanish-speaking population than the English-speaking population.
Well, I think that on that note, Todd, I would have to say to take this opportunity to really issue out a challenge to employers, because number one, it is a liability. As an attorney, I'm certain that you see these companies pay thousands and thousands of dollars in fines and things like that. But I have to say that that whoever has a leadership responsibility in those companies, that they're dealing with human beings, that they're dealing with the lives of people who have little children, who have their mothers at home and their wives expecting them to come home in one piece, and a little bit of compassion to say, I should be a little more humane with my people, with my workforce, regardless of their national origin. You know, I go to a lot of these manufacturing plants, and it's pretty broad. You have Eastern European immigrants, you have Asian immigrants, Hispanic that have limited English proficiency. So really, looking at teaching them English, workplace English that allows them to understand what those hazards are and how to prevent them is the challenge for these manufacturing plants, because it's really, I would tell people to really, if this is their job and their responsibility, to reach in their hearts and say, you know, that is an injury to the soul when you allow your business practice to treat people less than human.
And that's, you know, it's so sad, but it's true. They're just, you see in some places they appear to just be expendable, and that's, the employer is so short-sighted, because in the long term that's a loss of profit to him, because every time his workers' compensation rates go up because somebody gets hurt, every time he's got to train a new worker, it costs him money. And if it takes the economic incentive rather than the moral incentive, they should do just that. But, you know, more importantly, we see, and I mean, in Boston there were signs, and you still, when you see them, as you go to museums and things like that, Irish need not apply. At the turn of the century, the Irish were looked upon as being less than human. We've done it to every single group that's come into our community, and it's so hard for me to fathom that people in this community wouldn't be more welcoming because of what happened in the coal mines, where first the Irish came in, then the Polish came in, the Italians came in, the Russians came in, and we're all treated the same way. It's really, really unfortunate, and hopefully we're learning our lesson.
It's funny, Todd. When I first arrived here, I was asked to participate. I'm not going to say what a government body on a task force. And when I got there, the folks were at the table, and the discussion was, well, we brought in some diverse people to deal with the Black and Hispanic problem. And I listened to that, and I was new here, and I was, I am the way I am. I give my time to these issues, but only when I can believe in the mission at hand. And my response was, that's odd, because I'm new here, but from my experience, they still haven't resolved the Irish-Italian issue, and that was never heard from again. So it's funny. That's kind of a cultural myopia, where we quickly forget the struggles of our ancestors and our ethnic groups in new regions. And in the end, all I ask people to do is that look at their families, look at their children, look at their husbands and their parents, and say that when you look at someone else that's a new immigrant or looks different than you, is that they also are parents. In the military, we always had that issue of the pilots, for example, that you were so disattached from bombardment, but at the end of the day, that soldier is somebody's father and somebody. So all I ask is people to kind of overcome this whole issue of this new immigrant, and is that just look into their hearts and say, I am an American and I'm better than that, as an American.
And it's interesting when we talk about the new immigrants, everyone focuses on Latino immigrants. But when I first went to a English as a second language class in Scranton, I found immigrants from India, from Bangladesh, from Puerto Rico, they're not Puerto Rico, from Dominican Republic, from all over the world, all speaking different languages. And we don't understand that it's not just you look at the cultural enrichment that the Indians have brought to America, and we haven't seemed to have bristled quite as much. But the fact of the matter is, every immigrant group brings something that adds to our culture to make it a little stronger and a little better. And I thank you for the work that LAANEPA is doing here in northeastern Pennsylvania. And when we come back as a close, I just want to talk to you a little bit about the island of Puerto Rico. So please stay tuned to You Be the Judge.